Well, hi everyone. This is Deidre Kindred, your nurse advocate, back again tonight with Health Chats Among Friends. So, tonight I'm honored to have my good friend back, Erica Williams with Count It All Joy Estates. And tonight we're going to be picking her brain about different tips to ask your estate sales moving company. So, Erica, say hello.
Hello, everybody. Good to
Yeah.
be back. Thanks for inviting me back, Deirdre.
Well, I'm so happy to have you back because I knew you are packed full of knowledge and I wanted to just get all I can. So, how
And
was
just
your?
to be a little more specific, it's tips on how to choose an estate sale company when you're hiring an estate sale, questions to ask. So that's what we'll be sharing with
Wonderful.
you tonight.
Yes. So, what is an estate sale company? First of all, let's talk about that.
And a estate sale company is kind of that in between service. When you have your house and you've been there years and you've collected all those treasures, and now it's time to part with some of those treasures um, because of whatever situation you may be in, maybe a loved one, and you've inherited that estate. Someone is having to move into assisted living and they're retiring or whatever that situation may be. An estate sale company is a valuable service to look into as far as handling all of those tangible assets that you've collected over the years and you can't take them with you. We can help you sell those items and redistribute those treasures is what I like to, how I like to look at it, just redistributing treasures. It's not junk, it's not stuff, it's treasures to those families. So keep that in mind.
I
So we
like
can
that.
help you downsize in those areas, downsize those items and just get that house cleared out so families can go on with the next phase in the transition of moving or whatever that may be for that family.
Right, right. And I love that you take into account the psychological aspect of it too.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
love, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. Because it's very emotional for the family. So you definitely have to keep that in mind. We're coming in as a third party, have no attachment to these things, but you have to keep in mind that they do. So, yeah, absolutely. And be
Okay.
considerate of that throughout the process.
Right, right, right. Because some things have huge sentimental value, and
Yeah,
someone else may look at it like, oh, that is nothing but a picture, you know.
right.
And
Right.
it's more
Right.
than a picture, it's a
Yeah.
treasure. So I love how you put that. Yeah. So, what are some tips you would give someone when they're looking for a company?
Some of the tips I would say, let's start with, and we may not be able to get through all of them, but we'll throw out as many as we can in the time allotted. Um, it doesn't hurt to kind of just do your homework about estate sales on the front end as much as you can. Most families, when they initially contact us, sometimes they are in a time crunch and you don't have time to study, estate sales. But that leading question that I get when the phone call comes in is usually, I don't know anything about estate sales. How do estate sales work? And whoever you're talking to should be able to give you a brief overview of kind of how that process works to give you just a little bit of insight so you're not having to just go do a lot of stuff on your own, but give you a good decent idea of what that process looks like. So just ask that question initially just so you can have an idea of what's going on for how we are seeing it from our end. um, and another tip is you definitely want to uh, interview more than one company. Two to three to me is enough. After that, you're probably getting a lot of the same information. You're hearing, every company works differently, but a lot of it is pretty much going to be the same.
Mhm.
So just at least, two to three companies. You can interview as many as you want, but at least, you know, let that be a good number to interview. Um,
That way
because
you
you,
can
yeah,
take notes, keep it and do
yeah,
your
and a lot of people
comparison.
do. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, a lot of people do take notes. I've had some that call me and they're well prepared. They have their list of questions and they're going down that list. And then some people don't know what questions to ask. So,
Right.
be that resource, and they'll ask you, what am I not asking, that kind of thing. And so, be open about that. Kind of cover some of the things that they may not be thinking of at that time. A good tip is to ask a company, do you accept credit cards? Some companies still only accept cash, but
Oh,
just know that credit cards increase sales tremendously. So, that's a good selling point for a company, if they accept credit cards, because that does increase sales, when people are buying, bigger ticket items. So
okay.
that's a good thing to know. Ask a question, because cash can limit, some of the things that are going out of the door. Um, and every company is different in that area, in that aspect of it. So, and it's probably some of the newer companies that may be cash only. And then, things are getting crazier and crazier with credit cards and,
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. So it just depends on what space that company is in at that time. So that's a good tip to ask. And also when you're interviewing multiple companies, because you also want to get a feel for those people, because it's not just, who's the cheapest. It's not just, who's the closest to you, but are you connecting with that individual? Or because you're
Mm,
entrusting, as we talked about on the first call, you're entrusting a lot to these people,
right.
handing over the keys. So you want to make sure there's a connection, you feel comfortable with them. And so don't be afraid to ask any and all questions in that regard. Um, Something I learned years ago, people don't buy what you're selling, they buy you. So,
Mm-hmm.
see what that
Mm-hmm.
person is about. Yeah, get a feel for their core values. Where's the integrity? Where's the honesty? As some of the stuff we talked about last time. So,
Right, right.
it's just who you're comfortable with, because, everybody doesn't connect, and it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody doesn't connect the same with everybody. So, and that's okay. That's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So,
Do you ever have anyone that says that they want to be present during the estate sales, or do you recommend them letting the company take over?
most of them, I don't know if I've personally had anybody that insisted on being present. Most of them understand that we don't want them there. We advise them not to be there.
Yeah.
It's even stated in our contracts.
Okay.
Most companies, it's going to be stated in the
It
contract.
did.
And
Okay.
and of course, that's for a myriad of reasons.
Right.
That emotional part, you're there. You can
Uh-huh.
sabotage your own estate sale based, because you're emotionally attached, and we're here to do what you hired us to do. So give us that freedom to do that. And I haven't been where they are, but in those shoes, but I can only imagine, just watching people,
I
you know,
know.
you know what I'm
Right.
saying? It's
Right. I
like,
do.
and
I
you having
do.
all these memories. Oh, I remember when mom bought that. And,
Mm,
and it's selling for way less than mom probably paid for it. So you
right.
don't want to watch the process. You really don't. It's like, weenies. You don't want to know how they're made, but you might eat them though, if you don't see the
Yes.
process kind of thing. I'll eat them. I don't need to know how they're made and
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
kind
That's
of
a good
thing.
point. Mhm.
Yeah. So we definitely stress that they not be there. Because and then those situations, it doesn't end well. And I always tell them, I want us to be friends when this is over. So it's
Right.
best that you just kind of stay back. Feel free to pop in, pop out, make sure we're doing what you hired us to do. We don't have anything to hide on that end of it, but just to hang around and babysit. No.
Right.
Oh, that was a good question, but yeah. um, another another tip that you definitely that we can throw out there is just it's best to make sure the interviews are in person. That's just a better feel, face to face. And then even for us, we need that visual of exactly what's going to be there, that sort of thing. um, when what we're walking into, because that's how we're going to know how much we're going to charge for our services. So That's definitely a question you definitely want to ask everybody you interview. How much do you charge? How do you charge for your services? That may be different for every company. Typically, it's just a percentage of what we make once the sale is over, depending on how much time we have to prepare, how much labor. When we visually see it, we can kind of gauge, it's going to need this much time, this much labor, and we're factoring all those things into that. So the prospective client wants to want to be clear about what they're representing at that time. So that's something I advise them. Once you have narrowed down pretty much what you're keeping for yourself, that's the best time to invite us in and kind of do a walkthrough, so that it can be as accurate as possible, because we're making our decision to either take that sale on, we're making our decision on how much we're charging for those services based on what you're representing at that time.
So walk
So
me
that
through the
is.
process, like say, because I don't know if we discussed this last time, but walk me through the process. Say you get a phone call from a potential client. What is the process? What can they expect when they call a estate sale company?
Usually when they're initially calling, it's because I just put my house on the market. My mom's home, mom or dad's is moving in with us. She can no longer live by herself, whatever that situation is. And that's when they initially called me, I'm probably asking them more questions than they're asking me, because I need to get a feel of, is this something for us, or is it something, so we can recommend something else that's better for you.
Okay.
Maybe an online sale is better for them, that sort of thing. So I'm fielding them, asking them a few questions just to get a little more information about, okay, this potentially is a good fit for us, or no, I think you're going to be better in better hands with this type of company.
Okay.
So that's kind of the preliminary. And from there, we're trying to end the call with scheduling a
Okay.
visit,
Okay.
an in-person visit.
Okay. And
From
then
that,
during the
that's the goal
visit,
of the phone call.
okay. And then what happens during the visit?
During the visit, it's basically just us walking through the house, you all
Yeah.
saying, this is for sale, this is not for sale, kind of thing, giving us that visual of what's going to be included in the sale. And after we've done that walkthrough, then we can have the conversation about more details about, I can tell you at that point what the percentage would be. Um, that could range anywhere, and it's different for every company.
Okay. Okay.
Anything I'm
Yeah.
saying, and that can range from 30% to 50% or
Right.
60%. It just depends.
Okay.
Um, we may be in a hoarder situation. That may be something on the higher end. You're going to have to charge more. That's more labor. That's more time. Things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're looking at all of those factors. And once we have that visual, we can have that conversation about the percentages. Then we discuss timelines. When were you looking to have your sale? Um, and when do you think you'll be out and have all of your things out? That's another important tip that, they'll want to be aware of. We won't really want to come into the home while they're still living there.
Yes.
Stuff
That's
that they're
good.
selling is still there. We want everything clear, so there's no misunderstandings about, after the sale is over, you're looking for something because we accidentally
Mm,
sold it because it wasn't removed from the sale or
yes.
something like that. So we want to
Sticky
be
bucket.
careful about that.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so we can have those conversations, and yeah, basically, and it gives them an opportunity to, that's when the real interview starts, them interviewing us and asking any and all questions that they feel they need to ask.
Okay. Great.
Yeah. Um, and another thing, that we try, another question that they might want to ask, about taxes, sales tax.
Oh.
We do have to charge sales tax, um, even though taxes have already been charged on it. We hear it all the time. Well, it's already been paid,
Wow.
but yeah, we're we're required to charge sales tax, but that doesn't really affect the client. That's the customer that's actually shopping at the sale. So,
Wow.
and most of them are already, used to that and aware of that and all of that. And that's just something that our company will handle. The client doesn't have to worry about that, but it's just still something to be aware of and just to share
Mhm.
with them. Another tip that we can definitely share with them at that time.
Okay, okay,
Mhm. Another good question that they definitely want to ask is what happens after the sale is over?
okay. Good question.
Every company's goal is to sell as much as possible, but there's going to be something left over.
Mhm.
There's always going to be something left over, and so um, be sure to ask them, what happens with the leftovers, and does that mean we have to come back in and handle it? Will you all handle those leftovers? How does that work? For
Mm.
our company, we don't haul off any leftovers, but we will box it, bag it, get it ready for a donation pickup. So you're not coming in with stuff all scattered about, like, okay, what do I do now? Because it can be, they've already been through a lot. So
Right.
let's try to make that back end process as easy for them as possible as well. So at least it's tidy, ready to go. They can make arrangements for a donation pickup. And there's some creative things that we can do to help them get the house cleared out. As a courtesy, we'll take out as much trash as we reasonably possible for that area and things like that, just to make it a
Yeah.
little bit easier. And we don't count it all joy. Estate sales doesn't charge additional for that. That's just a part of what we do.
Oh, good, 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 good.
Yeah.
Okay. That's some
Mhm.
good tips. So what else you got?
Um, Another good one tip is keep in mind the more we make for the client, the more we make for ourselves. So be careful about throwing things away. Clients have a way of thinking everything is trash and nobody's going to buy this, and you'd be surprised at some of
Oh,
the things that
wow.
will sell. You'd be surprised at some of the things that will sell. Just because it's has a little, some little damage to it. We're thinking about every shopper that's coming through the door. So, just because it's used for this purpose, I'm trying to think of an example of something, a broken clock, who cares? I'm just first thing that came to my mind.
Mhm.
Just because the clock doesn't work, somebody may just want it for something else.
Yeah.
I've had a set designer to come to one of my sales before, and they do this design sets for
Yeah.
time periods, and you never know. And he bought he bought every old VCR that we had, and for that, and that's probably why he came to the sale, because he saw them in the pictures, and he grabbed up all those old VCRs and beta things,
You
just for
never
his
know.
you never know who's walking through the door.
Oh, wow.
School teachers are creative, so they're buying, craft items and, different things like that. So don't throw that stuff away.
Oh,
Um, just
okay.
let the just let the estate sale company decide whether it really should be
Be
thrown
junk
away
or
or something
not.
like
Not a
that.
treasure. Not a treasure. We don't want to use that word. Not a
Yeah.
treasure. But
Mhm.
awesome. You never
There you go.
know. One
You
man's,
know,
yeah, one
yeah,
man's piece of
trash.
is another
Some
man's treasure, right?
Yeah, what
Right
you
on.
think is trash is somebody else's treasure. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So you never know
Yeah.
what people are looking for. Oh yeah, very recently, one of my workers told me that somebody asked him if we come across just a lid to an old, outdoor grill. He just wants the lid. He doesn't
Oh,
need the whole grill. He just needs the lid. So things like that. So,
yeah. Yeah. Wow.
and we think about the whole picture. So yeah, that's definitely a good tip. Don't throw things away on the front end. Just really focus on what you're taking with you. Your personal
Right.
papers, things like that. Just the items that you plan on keeping for yourself. Just focus on that. Um,
Yeah.
and you're hiring the company to do the rest from there.
Okay.
uh,
Okay. You probably already mentioned this, but I was going to ask, would a good question be to say, can all this, I guess it depends on what they have.
Mhm.
What is the time frame? Did you already mention that to ask, is it going to be
Oh,
all
I didn't.
weekend or is it going to be through the
Okay.
week or?
I didn't say specifically. For my company, we asked for full 2 weeks minimum, two
Okay.
weeks
Okay.
to prepare for the sale. That's the sorting, that's the staging, that's the pricing, and that's holding the sale. And that's for your average home that that time period we should be able to get it done. And 2 weeks really isn't as long as it sounds, because if we have another sale going on, we're not there every day for those two
Okay.
weeks.
Okay.
So we try to keep that in mind. And I always tell clients, I hate even saying 2 weeks, as soon as your stuff is out, call us. The sooner the better. The more time we have to prepare, that's just more quality. You are not having to, rush anything. You don't want to rush anything. We want time to research those items that we may not be as familiar with. So that's something you want to, you know, consider as well. Most items we come across over and over and over, and we know what customers are willing to pay for it. We know that fair market value. And then some things, you have to take a little more time and do some research and, and see if we can get a stronger price for those items. So, don't want to sacrifice the quality over the speed of it. So that's another good question. So, um, something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Another really good tip, I would say, if time allows for those potential clients, just go visit a sale. I try to remember to tell them if I have something already on the calendar when I'm visiting them, hey, I'm going to be, I'm going to have a sale here. Stop in. That way you can see us in action and see the process and, get a feel for pretty much what you see here is what's going to be happening at your estate sale. So, if there's a nearby estate sale in your area, just hop in and visit, and that way that'll give you some comfort level, I think, as well. Especially, if you've interviewed a company and you really want to go with them, ask them, do you have any sales coming up? And if you have that time, just stop in and visit. You don't have to buy anything, just stop in and visit, um, and that'll give you a really good feel for
Oh,
that
cool.
process and everything. So absolutely. Another good tip is, very important. Ask for references. Definitely ask for references when you're interviewing the various estate sale companies. Everyone should be comfortable with giving you references, and call those references. Don't just ask, call those references. We may think we're giving you a strong reference, but they may be telling you, oh, I didn't want her to know this, but this happened. And,
Right.
you never know. So, call them and ask them, ask those references, call those references and ask those questions. And, um, oh, ask them if they have a contract. Most companies should have a contract, and, spell everything out. A lot of those things that we're talking about now is typically spelled out in the contract. Pretty good, pretty much spelled out. And you may just want to sit down with them and go over the contract with them when it's time to sign. And then and I sometimes leave them with a copy of the contract, because when you're reading it, it may trigger questions that they're not thinking to ask. And go ahead and call and text me after I leave, if you think of any questions after the fact. So that's another good tip.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. uh, Ask the same questions to every company. That way it's not all scattered about. Just kind of be
Right.
consistent with the
Yeah.
list of questions that you are asking. And that way you can kind of compare, how everybody's handling those different questions. And that'll give you a little more comfort level on that end of it. And again, it's about, who you're making a connection with at the end of the day. Because there's nothing you can really do if it's a service you need. you got to trust somebody. You're
Mm-hmm.
gonna have to trust somebody. So
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow.
mhm.
Okay. Any more tips of the day?
I think those are the main ones. Those are pretty much some of the top tips that that you should keep in mind.
Okay,
Pretty
so
much.
let's do a quick recap because I do remember because the one that stood out to me was the sales tax. I didn't know, so that's something,
Mhm.
to be able to be informed about. But let's go over them, just kind of go through them real quickly just for review.
Okay. Um, Interview multiple companies. Definitely do that. Definitely ask for references and call those references. Um, Attend an estate sale if you have time in your schedule to do that. Attend an estate sale and just kind of, and preferably an estate sale, one of those companies you've already interviewed, would be best. Attend an estate sale. Definitely ask what happens after the sale is over. That's a
Mm-hmm.
very important question.
Mm-hmm.
uh, are you cash only? Do you accept credit cards?
Good,
That's another one.
good.
um, Make sure you get a copy of the contract at some point. You
Mm-hmm.
definitely want to do that. And then that's, it's kind of common sense, but just do the interviews in person if you can.
Right,
Uh,
right,
and then there are some people that live out of state. I have people that call me out of state, and they'll have just a local neighbor to, with a key to the house, different things. We have to adjust to different situations. Every
right.
situation isn't going to be perfect, so you have to adjust to that. So it just depends on what's going on. In that end of it. And then don't get in the habit of throwing anything away. So
That's good.
linens, cleaners, if you don't want it, leave it there.
Wow.
Go ahead and leave it there, because we probably can find somebody who does need it. Again, just we're thinking about that every customer. The cleaning companies will come and buy those half bottles of cleaners because it saves them money. They'll buy those brooms and mops. It saves
Mm-hmm.
them money than
Mm-hmm.
going to buy it new. Um, so basically, just do as much research that you can. Um, and then, of course, you want to know how much they're charging for their services
Of course.
at the end of the day. Wouldn't advise going with the lowest all the time.
Right. Get what you pay for.
Just you get what you pay. You get what you pay for
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. So,
Mm-hmm.
factor in everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Not just the cheapest. So,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Well, those are some great tips. So, if anyone wanted to learn more about those tips or learn more about Count It All Joy Estates, how would they reach you?
Count It All Joy Estate Sales can be reached online at our website, www.ciajestates with an S.com, ciajestates.com. You can always call or text us at 817-319-3045. And some of these tips are courtesy of estatesales.net. We do advertise our sales there as well. So if you need a refresher, estatesales.net, you can find these tips there as well. It's just kind of standard things in the industry. It's just standard questions in the industry anyway.
Right, right. Well, Erica, thank you again for your time. This is very informative. I'm so happy that I had you back here on the show.
Yes,
And
glad to be
we'll have you
back.
back again, in the near
Okay.
future, talking about another wonderful topic related to
Looking
estate
forward to it.
sales.
Looking forward to it. I
All
appreciate it.
right. Well,
And we're
thank
also on
you.
Facebook, so
Yeah,
follow us on Facebook as well. Yes, Erica
wonderful.
King, Counting All Joy Estate Sales. Sorry.
Yes. Are you on LinkedIn too, or does that?
I am not very active, but I'm there.
Okay, okay.
I'm out there.
So all of the social media platforms you can find my friend.
Yeah,
Nearly.
pretty much. Pretty much.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you, Miss
This is
Williams.
great.
This has been fun.
Yes, yes, yes.
And thank you everyone for tuning in to Health Chats Among Friends, where we bring you reputable resources in our local communities. Have a wonderful evening and tune in next time for another amazing resource. Bye.
Bye.